Hello everyone, and welcome back to Navigating the Periphery. My name is Debra, and this is my son Philip.
Hello.
We are doing great today, however, we want to know how you're doing, so please let us know. We hope you enjoyed our first episode that we posted. If you're into what we're doing on this channel, please do all that YouTube kind of stuff if you haven't already. If you could reach down and give this video a big thumbs up and a like, honestly, this is so important to us as content creators because the more likes we get, the more widely YouTube will distribute this episode on their platform. And we want to get our message out there and try to reach as many people as we can. If you know anyone who could benefit from watching this channel, please spread the word. We got some really positive messages across our socials and feedback, which is a great sign that we are getting our message out there. Like we said, we want this to be a safe space and a positive place where ideas and conversations are exchanged. There is no judgment for how you feel or for the questions that are being asked. We want to create a great place for you to come and offer help to those who don't know where to get help or services for mental health issues or what's available to them.
Our show will examine many mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, mood disorders, and the stigma that comes with those diagnoses. But in today's episode, we will cover what my specific diagnosis is in detail so you guys out there have a better understanding of it.
So, like Philip said, I thought in this episode we could address how this all came to be. We get asked a lot, how did this all come about? What symptoms did Philip have? What is schizoaffective disorder? Is it the same thing as schizophrenia? And what led up to Philip's diagnosis? And how does the psychiatrist come to this diagnosis?
My diagnosis is classified as schizoaffective disorder bipolar type. Now this sounds a lot like another mental disorder called schizophrenia, but there are serious differences. For those who don't know, schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia share the same symptoms and treatments. The main difference is that schizoaffective disorder has a mood component, which can involve mania or depression. In fact, some researchers have shared and believe that schizoaffective disorder is a more severe variant of schizophrenia.
It's important for me to stress here that schizoaffective disorder requires diagnosis by a physician, and to have other health issues and other medical diagnoses ruled out first before a final diagnosis comes to be. According to the DSM-5 Manual of Mental Health Disorders, schizoaffective disorder is considered a chronic mental health condition that is very often misdiagnosed. This mental illness causes both psychotic episodes as well as a mood disorder, and in some circumstances, other psychotic disorders.
There are two types of schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type and depressive type, both of which can be tricky and challenging to diagnose. What this means is the psychotic episodes or psychosis, such as hallucinations, schizophrenic tendencies, and or delusions, are paired with a major mood disorder, being either bipolar disorder or depression. I have bipolar type. However, I do experience depressive episodes as well.
The person suffering can also have episodes of depression or mania at the same time that symptoms of schizophrenia are present, which include hallucinations, delusions, and other mental impairments.
They must also have at least a 2-week period of delusions or hallucinations without any symptoms of a major mood episode, and also must meet the defined criteria for a major mood disorder throughout the majority of the time in accordance with the DSM-5 Manual of Mental Illness.
Now you guys tuning into this are probably thinking, what is the DSM-5? Is this a diagnosis code? Is it a medication? Well, no, it's actually a manual. Well, it's a book, really. The American Psychiatric Association's professional reference book on mental health and brain-related conditions is also known as the DSM-5. This is the main guide for mental health providers in the United States.
The American Psychiatric Association publishes the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM-5, which is a thorough manual and classification system. Mental health practitioners use it extensively to identify and categorize mental illnesses.
In order to assist doctors in the assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of patients with mental health disorders, the DSM-5 offers specific criteria for a number of mental health conditions. It acts as a standard reference for mental health professionals to guarantee uniformity and consistency in the diagnosis and categorization of mental illnesses.
Here's what the DSM-5 looks like, and it can be purchased in any bookstore or on Amazon or on eBay or wherever you get books for anyone interested in its contents. I actually needed and used it during college for many classes and research for my behavioral science degree. For anyone interested, schizoaffective disorder is on page 105.
Many people also ask us, is schizoaffective disorder a form of schizophrenia?
Schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia do share same symptoms and treatments. The main difference is that schizoaffective disorder has a mood component, which can involve mania or depression. Like my mom stated earlier, some researchers believe schizoaffective disorder is a more severe variant of schizophrenia.
What makes this even tougher is differentiating between schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder. In simple terms, both conditions are very similar. However, where schizophrenia includes more psychotic symptoms, schizoaffective disorder could be interpreted as a mixture of bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. The causes of this mental illness can often be related to stressful events in one's life, trauma, drug use, a genetic factor, consistent sleep disturbances, interference in brain chemistry, or other mental disorders that have yet to be diagnosed.
For me, my symptoms started manifesting in March of 2020, after my mom was seriously sick with COVID and was almost hospitalized. For those watching, New York was one of the first states to be hit very hard with COVID-19. I also had COVID, but not as serious. My psychiatrist isn't sure if the trauma of potentially losing my mom to COVID-19 or whether me having the virus is what caused the onset of my schizoaffective disorder. What's fascinating is that there may be a link between COVID-19 and schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder.
The COVID-19 outbreak had a profound impact on mental health. Evidence from previous viral pandemics in the past suggests infectious agents, in particular respiratory viruses, may represent a risk factor for schizophrenia-like illnesses in patients who contract the infection. This is due to the release of something called cytokines. You may have heard about cytokines in the news when the pandemic was spreading in the United States and worldwide. We will cover cytokines and their role in mental health in a future episode. But for now, we'll stick with the onset of Phillips disorder. So continuing on, in our extended family, there is a genetic component regarding schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. My father's brother suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, and Philip's grandfather on his father's side had bipolar disorder. So the genetic factors and the pandemic, unfortunately, were the perfect storm of events, along with the stress of being a full-time college student, for Philip's diagnosis to manifest.
Symptoms of schizoaffective disorder usually begin to occur between the ages of 16 and 30. I was 22.
People and friends have also asked, what are the symptoms like? What happens? Do you black out? Do you become enraged? Do you go psychotic on friends when you get angry at them?
Well, schizoaffective disorder, like schizophrenia, is characterized by positive and negative symptoms. Like electrical charges, you mean? No, very different.
Positive symptoms represent an excess or distortion of normal functioning, while negative symptoms involve a decrease or loss of normal functioning.
It's important to note that individuals with schizoaffective disorder experience a combination of mood disorder symptoms and schizophrenia symptoms. Here's how positive and negative symptoms manifest in schizoaffective disorder.
So some examples of positive symptoms are hallucinations, perceptions that occur without external stimuli, such as hearing voices or seeing things that others don't. Delusions, which are false beliefs that are resistant to reasoning or contrary evidence. These include paranoid delusions or grandiose delusions. For instance, me thinking I'm the Vice President of the United States or the Queen of England. There's also disorganized thinking, which is difficulty organizing thoughts, leading to incoherent speech or communication.
Often called word salad, I experience this symptom, which is a confused or unintelligible mixture of seemingly random words and phrases that makes no sense, which can be alarming for the person you're trying to talk to. I also experience what are known as negative symptoms.
Examples of negative symptoms would be a flat affect, reduced emotional expressions leading to a lack of facial expressions, gestures, or vocal intonations. And there was a lot of this before Philip's psychosis started to occur.
Then I experienced a thing called anhedonia, which is a decreased ability to experience pleasure or interest in activities that were once enjoyable, like playing my video games, going out to play trivia or playing it at home, watch my favorite shows or movies. Mind you, these were also occurring naturally due to the COVID-19 pandemic as things and activities were locked down to stop the spread of the virus.
Social withdrawal and difficulty establishing and maintaining relationships. Preferring isolation, which again, at that time was not helped by the COVID lockdowns.
Reduced speech output, limited verbal communication or monotonous speech. Again, what people refer to as word salad, saying a lot and not really making much sense. I unfortunately experienced all of those negative symptoms.
In schizoaffective disorder, individuals also experience mood disorder symptoms, which can include manic, depressive, or mixed episodes. These mood symptoms contribute to the overall clinical picture. The combination of mood and psychotic symptoms distinguishes schizoaffective disorder from having schizophrenia alone. It's important to recognize that the severity and specific symptoms can vary among individuals with schizoaffective disorder. Additionally, individuals may experience fluctuations in symptoms over time. So you may wonder how this disorder is treated. Well, treatment typically involves a combination of antipsychotic medications, mood stabilizers, and antidepressants. One big issue in mental health is compliance with medications prescribed.
I know I'll be on medication probably for the rest of my life. My mental illness will never be cured. I will always need medication to keep my schizoaffective symptoms at bay. And I'm okay with that. However, many people with mental illness sometimes think that after being on medication for a while, that they feel so much better and so good that they stop taking the medication, or feel they no longer need it because of how much better they feel.
This is a huge issue, and it affects many aspects in the mental health community. We would really like to cover the compliance issue in a later show when we cover how mental health is portrayed in the media. It really gets a bad rap, and a lot of it has to do with issues in the healthcare system.
Not only do I take 4 medications daily consisting of 2 antipsychotic medications, a mood stabilizer, antidepressant, and 1 to help keep me focused, but I also see my clinical psychologist once a week.
Psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, and supportive therapy, is often used to help individuals maintain both the psychotic and mood-related aspects of this disorder.
I do behavioral therapy once a week, sometimes more often to try to catch issues I may be having before they manifest into something bigger. Okay. So I was diagnosed in September of 2020. What happened from March to September for me is really kind of a blur, and I don't remember a lot. I suffered from loss of time. 1 minute it will be 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I would look at the time again, and it will be 6 o'clock at night. I would have no memory of the day or any events that occurred. I had difficulty recollecting what I was learning in my classes, which was very upsetting because I'm a very good student normally. I became very hypervigilant regarding safety.
He would constantly ask me in familiar places, "Mom, are we safe here? Why are people looking at me like that?" And as it progressed on, Philip would say, "Why are they saying those things about me and to me and looking at me? I'm going to have to get them before they get me." He no longer wanted to drive because of conversations only he was hearing. Philip also became very angry and accusatory. And I can remember an argument that he had with his stepsister, accusing her of stealing his iPhone charger and becoming really angry and enraged. Normally, Philip is very quiet and soft-spoken, so this was very out of character for him and very scary for us.
I also began self-harm. This is very scary for me. Although my family was aware I was acting strangely, my mom did not know the extent of what I was experiencing or doing. I made the decision to talk to her about my self-harm, my fears, and what I was afraid I was going to do. Because I was scared, my mom, without hesitation, contacted a new adult cognitive behavioral psychologist, which was no easy feat during the pandemic, and then contacted a psychiatrist who is on staff at our local hospital.
At that time, hospitalizing Philip was really not an option due to the pandemic and COVID restrictions.
I knew if I was hospitalized, no one in my family would be able to visit me due to the COVID restrictions in place, and I told my mom that I could not survive that.
So, after other medical testing was performed to rule out other medical conditions first, and after a conference between his cognitive behavioral psychologist, his behavioral neurologist, who he had been seeing since he was a young teen due to his OCD and GAD, and his new psychiatrist, Philip was finally diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type, at the end of September 2020. He was started then on a trial of antipsychotic medication called Geodon. The generic form is called Ziprasidone. Now, seeing as Philip did not want to be hospitalized, I was lucky and I was able to take time off of work for several months to stay with him, as did my husband, so he was never alone, in case he experienced any side effects or any other byproducts of the schizoaffective disorder.
Antipsychotic medications are classified into two groups, typical and atypical. Typical antipsychotics tend to more strongly block dopamine, while atypical antipsychotics have greater effects on serotonin in the brain. Geodon, or Ziprasidone, is what's known as an atypical antipsychotic.
So as this was all happening, Philip had to take a medical leave from college during the fall 2020 semester. And sadly, this caused him to become even more depressed.
I knew I had to do this in order to get well, and to awaken out of my psychotic phase. An awakening from psychosis refers to the process of recovering or emerging from a psychotic episode.
Several months went by and improvement was very, very slow. In the beginning of treatment, some individuals begin to comprehend what has happened, regain their sense of reality, and start to perform better in their day-to-day activities during the healing process. It's critical to remember that psychosis rehabilitation is a prolonged process with potential ups and downs. Depending on the specific circumstances, the underlying reasons of the psychosis, and the efficacy of treatment strategy, the length and intensity of the recovery period can definitely vary.
Needless to say, I had to take a second medical leave from college during the spring 2021 semester.
After approximately 6 months, Philip's symptoms started to improve slowly. The medication, along with seeing his cognitive behavioral therapist 3 times a week or more if needed, really started to help, and improvement started to become more evident. It took all 3 of his doctors, his psychiatrist, his behavioral neurologist, and his clinical psychologist, constantly tweaking dosages of medications and therapy approaches for Philip's new normal to finally commence.
Each day was hard, and it was a slow process, and I was really scared my life would never ever be the same again. And to be honest, it's not the same, not even close. I still have apprehension in public, lots of anxiety, and hypervigilance when it comes to safety. I had to finish my college degree online as opposed to attending college like I was used to, but this is my new normal now. I went from having many friends to one very close friend who I trust and knows my full story. I am, however, so grateful for my mom and my family for not giving up on me, because that in itself made me not want to give up on myself. I'm sharing my story and my truth so others know it's okay not to be or feel okay all the time. You're not alone, and shout out Michelle.
Like we stated in our first episode, we want to highlight the importance of reaching out for help in any circumstance. If you have any questions regarding Philip's diagnosis or how it all came to happen, please ask away. We're here. Our goal is that we want you to feel comfortable. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome and never judged.
We will always try to reply to questions and concerns as we aim to build a supportive space and provide valuable resources to anyone affected by mental health issues. We place a strong emphasis on having open and honest conversations, sharing personal stories, and talking about strategies for erasing the stigma associated with the mental health diagnosis.
Our goal here is to establish a helpful and inclusive community where our viewers can share their experiences, exchange their ideas, and obtain insightful knowledge in order to enhance well-being. Remember, the concept of normal is so subjective and ever-changing. People are extraordinarily diverse, each with their own unique quirks and traits. And that embracing our differences is really what makes our world a more interesting place. So thank you so much for tuning into our second episode of Navigating the Periphery. I hope it helped answer any questions regarding Philip's diagnosis and journey. We hope that you take care, please be well, and have a great day. How do you think it went today?
Pretty good. How about you?
Me too. So for more information on schizoaffective disorder, we left some links below that are very informative if you'd like to read more about it. You can also purchase the DSM-5 if you're interested in schizoaffective disorder or any other mental health disorder. But the websites below are for the Mayo Clinic and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also known as NAMI. Thanks so much for tuning in again. We hope to create more content really soon. We're going to try to get some videos out at least once a week. Thank you so much. Take care and bye. We'll see you next time.
Bye.